All right, cool. I think we're all set up, guys. Thanks for coming to our weekly media briefing. We are going to get right down to it. We have a bunch of updates on transit, which is, why we brought out some of the heavy transit vehicles, and also we have a goose over here that security warned us about. So I want to pass it on to you guys. Apparently, this goose has been quite a threat to people. So to those of you who just got here, please be wary of the goose. All right, so I want to give a quick update on the library. The Wichita Public Library will explore 150 years of stories with the summer reading program for kids, ages 0 to 17. Participate in the reading challenges and activities, and you will be able to win prizes. Information videos for using the Beanstack app. So Beanstack is our app. Will be available on the library's website and YouTube channels, and that is beginning on May 1st. So visit wichitalibrary.org/summer reading to learn more. I want to give an update on McLean. We've gotten a lot of emails about McLean and when it will open back up. So through traffic is expected to open up on McLean between Douglas and Maple on Monday. The striping began on McLean on Monday and is now complete. The street now features short islands, which are not expected to significantly impact traffic flow, but are expected to make pedestrian activity safer, especially on game days when the stadium is finally open and available to the public. There are about 30 additional on-street parking spaces for people to park, get out, enjoy the riverfront. Once the stay-in order is lifted, please don't do it before then. We expect this street change will help people stay safe without undue impact on traffic and to provide increased access to the riverfront. So I talked about, when I first became mayor, they talked about street sweepers and how it's a really big deal. So I get to give an update on street sweepers, and as you guys can tell from behind me, it apparently is a really big deal. They've actually, for the first time, staged this media briefing. It is an honor to approach this subject. And so with the warmer temperatures, our snowplows are off the streets and our street sweepers are back on duty. People love our street sweepers, as I'm constantly told, and we will get regular questions about when they will be in individual neighborhoods. Residential streets are targeted for sweeping 1 to 2 times per year, dependent on the level of mature trees, as greater levels lead to more debris and obviously limbs and other leaves in the streets. So our most popular streets are targeted for sweeping up to 8 times a year. The street sweepers run 5 days a week, first, second, and third shifts, with our second and third shifts focusing on a central business district, industrial areas, and high volume streets. During most of the year, with full staffing, we're able to deploy up to 5 street sweepers on the road during first shift, 3 during second shift, and 2 during third shift. However, we're making special efforts to clean up sand left on the roadways following our winter storm season. We've temporarily repurposed staff to increase the number of sweepers presently on the road during first shift, and operators on all 3 shifts are dedicated to sand cleanup on snow routes, which is expected to be completed by June 1st. Citizens who visit wichita.gov can check out the Streets tab on the Public Works Utilities page and able to visit an interactive map on wichita.gov that shows street sweeper locations in real time. So if you're wondering when your street will be hit next with the sweeper, you'll be able to find that information on our website. Now, for a project I'm really happy to announce, it's something that I had an email earlier this week from a constituent who asked if we could offer some type of bus pass during the coronavirus, because there are those who are out of work and they might not have the money for bus fare or for gas and need a way to get to the supermarket and back, or to food pantries or to other services. So I reached out to Councilmember Brandon Johnson and asked him about the idea to get his input on it, and then we reached out to the city manager and also to the transit director, Mike Tan, to see if we could do this. And I'm really happy to announce that we will have free routed bus services every Saturday for the next few weeks. I think I have a date here. For the next few months, actually. So for the next few months, we're going to have free Saturday bus routes. These are the fixed bus routes, and the purpose of it is not only to give people who might need access to transportation a break on Saturdays, but also particularly in this crisis where people are short on cash and still need to get two places. The bus on Saturdays will be completely free, so it's something that people can work around. And just with that, we want to talk briefly about our increased disinfection activities that are taking place on the bus, so that riders can feel comfortable and safe. We anticipate that the rides will continue through the end of June, and so will our increased efforts of sanitation and ensuring that our buses are as safe as possible. So I do want to thank the person who sent me the email. I'm not going to give her name out, obviously, but that's the type of stuff that I think really shows the quality of our community, where some of the best ideas actually come from just people who are observing what's going on and being able to reach out and email us and with an idea and have it turn into policy. I think represents the best of our form of government. So if you are one of those people who want us to look at a new idea or an idea that some other community has taken up, please feel free to email me, and we can check into it, because our goal is to provide the services that the public expects from us. So with that, I'm pretty much done with my update. Is there any questions about anything?
I've received a few messages from some city workers who say they're being called back to work a little earlier than expected. Are you calling some employees back for particular reasons? One of them, an example, a parks employee who's been called back, I think in the next few days. What is your timeline for bringing employees back, or is there?
So I actually don't make those calls when it comes to employees. The way our system is set up is the elected officials are the policy drivers, while the city manager is the administrative driver. So I'd have to get some more updates on particularly what those the reason is for calling people back. We want to, as we look forward to getting back to somewhat normalcy, we want to make sure that we do it responsibly. That's the goal here. So I am certain that it's part of reopening, starting to offer those services that people expect out of us, but ensuring that we're going to do it in the safest way possible moving forward. And overall, I know that I invited Pete Meissner a little late. He had another meeting to come give us a update on the coronavirus, but I know that they're working on plans right now, and the media has reported on this, to reopen services and really businesses and so on the most responsible way. And we also know that citizens are going to expect services from the municipalities just like they have before. So our goal is to balance that with with the responsibility we have to keep our citizens and our employees safe.
Will the city develop a plan similar to that, or do you kind of follow behind what the county suggests as far as a plan for reopening?
So when it comes to reopening, the county, we're partners with the county in that their health team, their public health squad, I guess, for lack of a better term, they work with our chief of, with our first responders, our fire chief, and so on. So it will be a collaborative effort where they take the lead on it, because that is the way our local government is set up. But I don't think that there will be much conflict, because all of us are following the best practices and policies delivered, at least up to this point, delivered by public health experts. So the goal is to do this responsibly, but also not to be knee-jerk about it, where we need to be responding to what medical experts, what public safety experts say, much more than what we want. Like, for us to get through this the best way possible, it's to work together and to make sure that the decisions are made based on sound science.
And last thing for me, and then I'll let everyone.
I got all day. Go ahead.
Just any words to the people of.
Warn you guys about the geese.
The geese wanted. words to the people of Wichita just about the process of reopening? I know some people are scared. Of course, we want everyone to continue to be healthy, but just any words to the people of Wichita about that process?
So really, and the question was, I'm supposed to be repeating the question, by the way, was words to the people of Wichita about reopening, especially knowing that people are afraid at this time. The reality is, things are going to be a little different until we get a vaccine, until we get really good treatment, and until we get an increase in testing, which I think that will probably be the next thing we get to check off. So we want people to use common sense, to get the information, accurate, good information, and make decisions based off that. And one of the reasons why Wichita as a city, we are doing better than other cities comparable with this virus is because our citizens do that. They get it. We have smart people here who will take precautions, not because government tells them to, but also because they themselves have that information and respond accordingly. And they hold each other accountable. So I think as we begin to reopen, there will be a need to still be cautious. And I am confident, just considering how people have been over the last few months, that people will still take precautions and be conscious of the fact that the virus, it's still, we don't know what it's going to do in the summer, but we know that we can catch anything until pretty much we have a vaccine for it. All right, other questions?
So the county's putting together a sort of a reopening task force or part of some discussions. Does the city have any representation on that task force, and if so, who? Or would you like there to be city representation?
So I was just briefed on this task force. I think it was the same task force about 5 minutes before walking out here. So I do know that the chair of the county is creating a task force and looking towards best practices to reopening, and we have selected Councilwoman Tuttle to sit on that task force, giving her background in healthcare or health science. So she'll be on that, and hopefully reporting back to the council with recommendations for how us as a city can complement the efforts going on at the council. And and that's another interesting thing I just want to highlight is Pete Meissner has been, as a chairperson, has been really great to work with during this time, and very collaborative. And one of, I think, the reasons why we are getting national stories about our medical facilities and handling this virus in this situation, leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's something that takes collaboration, and I believe that what's happening over the county, they have kept us in the loop. So I look forward to working with them and coming together as a team so that we can move our community forward with as least the least amount of really negative health effects as possible.
So you mentioned testing is kind of a key barrier the county's been talking about, how we're testing so low. At what point do you think, I guess, what rate of testing do we need in our community before you feel confident that reopening is the best strategy? So
testing doesn't, good, and the question, for those of you following, was about, and Chance, let me know if I messed the question up, was about testing, and at what point is testing going to be available to help us reopen? Is that?
Well, what level of testing?
What level of testing?
Do we need to be at before we can reopen?
Before we can reopen. Okay, so I want to make it clear that testing is a tool we have to try to limit the spread of the virus. Because we have more testing doesn't mean that you're less likely to catch a virus. What the testing does is it allows us to identify clusters. It allows us to figure out, okay, not only who is showing symptoms, but also who around those folks are showing symptoms, so that you can have people stay in a house for 14 days, have people be treated when they need to be treated. So the testing allows us more so to stop the spread. It's a tool in helping us stop the spread. I can't really speak to how many tests are coming down, because that's outside my lane. That's the lane of the county. I have an idea, like I've gotten some updates, so I do feel confident that we will get more testing capabilities in the future, but also, we are. It's going to be one of the tools to ensure that moving forward, we are isolating pockets of this early on, so that those people don't go out and unknowingly infect other people. Now we're a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to the testing, as far as the national level and where tests are coming from. Where there's a finite amount of tests right now, and that's going to get better. We're going to demand's high for tests, but because we're in better shape than other communities when it comes to this outbreak. A lot of those tests are going to the communities that have a very high percentage of outbreak. Which makes sense, right? Like where you want to put in more where the need is. So we do need these moving forward, but one of the reasons why we haven't got these yet is because states like New York need it. States that have been haven't been doing as well as far as maintaining the spread of this as Wichita has. So, like I said, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because then we're lower on the list of priority for getting those tests. But my understanding is that is changing, and how's it going? And my understanding that's changing. We're going to have more access to tests. Any more follow-ups from the Eagle? See none. All right, yes, sir.
You mentioned about the bus on Saturdays. You said fixed routes. How many routes are there, and where are people going to see what routes to turn them so they can get on?
So that's a really good question. I don't think do we have oh, awesome. So normally when you ask the detailed questions, we have someone from the department here, and I'm glad you're here. I'm going to back up so we can socially distance.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Nathaniel Hinkle. I'm with Wichita Transit. The question was the number of bus routes that we have on Saturdays. On Saturdays, we have 16 bus routes that run across the city. All of them go out to basically the edges of the city and then come back and connect downtown. So you can use multiple bus routes to travel wherever you need to within the city.
Follow-up question about buses?
So those would all be free on Saturdays?
All buses will be free on Saturdays, yes.
Like this, guys. Quick. Anything else on buses? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So, and also that program is all thanks to someone emailing us. Just someone in our community who had an idea, shot me an email, and I was able to shop it around to Brandon Johnson and to our staff, and see if the best way to implement it. So if you are someone who's out there watching this and you do have an idea that's either your own or something another community is doing, please shoot us an email. That I think is some of times when some of the best ideas happen is the ones that organically come from our community. So other questions? I think we're good. All right, guys, if there's anything else I can do, let me know as far as giving you all information, and just want to thank you all for coming out and being here for our weekly brief. Thank you.